Hello, everybody. Welcome back to all our faithful viewers to episode 3 of the Problem Solving Podcast. We solve problems, we come up with out of the box solutions. It's hard to say this with a straight face. Um, I'm James, and we have our other esteemed friend on the that's a male,
I'm Allan. Hello.
and we have our new, also esteemed friend, but new to the podcast, and hopefully many more, a cat.
Hi, I'm a cat. No, my name's Chloe. I went to college with these guys. How are you?
Yes, how are you?
That's it. That's all I'll give for that introduction. I went to college with you guys. There you go.
Yeah. Now they all know we all went to college together.
Yeah.
Oh, and you.
So.
Okay, that mug is giving the wrong.
Yeah. We all went to Columbia, right, Alan?
Yeah, so good.
So we're gonna talk. Alan has a situation that his friend is going through, and so why don't you go for it, Alan?
Yep. So my friend's problem is he feels that there are too many things that he needs to do in his day, and there's not enough time to do all of them. So
Pretty relatable problem.
how can we help him better manage his time?
What types of things does he do?
So he is currently still doing his research. Like, he had research as part of his undergrad, and he's, like, continuing doing work under that advisor as part of his PhD program, I think. So, like, he has to do all that. In general, he's always been kind of a healthy person, so I imagine he sets aside time to be, like, exercising. He has hobbies like baking, which takes a lot of time.
That's really cool.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. So there's a lot of things he needs to do in his day.
Okay. And is he like planning on doing new stuff, or is it he just has issues keeping up with the stuff that he already does?
I think right now he has issues keeping up with all the things he's doing, but he is also going to be moving to an apartment in New York soon.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Wow, that might tie into our next episode. Yeah, that's actually really interesting because when you say like he's healthy, I'm guessing like exercising and like making sure he's eating
Exercising,
right, like
he sleeps at the same exact time every day and wakes up at the same exact time every day.
There's the problem
That's
right
really
there.
good.
Change your sleep schedule to whatever is convenient at the time.
He's not a
Ignore the longer
degenerate
breaks.
like the rest of us. He has like sleeps at 12, wakes up at like 7:30, I think. I don't know. He wakes up pretty early, but also he like sleeps at 12 on the dot. Like, I've seen him like shut down. Like, if 12 is approaching, he would be like, guys, I'm getting tired. I can't go on.
That's pretty good, honestly.
Yeah. He's
But also, like,
like he's the only person I know with the schedule, basically.
he sounds already pretty well adjusted. So, like, why does he have more problems now? Is it just because, like, things are changing for him? Or is it because he's getting bored of it? Like, what's causing all of this?
That's a good question.
All right. Well, that actually is, so it sounds like he's a pretty productive person in general, right? Like, he's a research, I'm guessing, getting his PhD or just a master's degree.
PhD.
Yeah, so he's obviously probably a pretty productive person, doing a lot of useful things. And whenever I think of stuff like this, I always think that triangle that you see that's like, there's
like the
enough
pick
sleep,
two?
social life, good grades, and it says pick 2.
Yeah.
Or pick 1 sometimes even. And like, I think that's definitely true to an extent, but that's like only if you want to be the best thing at one of the points on those triangles.
That's true.
Or whatever. Like, if you want to be the best student, then yeah, you're going to have to sacrifice social life and maybe even enough sleep to be the best student. But I do wonder a lot. Like, I relate to this problem a lot, and I don't feel as nearly as productive as your friend.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wonder a lot though. I might be working hard and being productive, but I'm being productive towards things that don't really matter.
Well,
I'm going to work on
matter,
this email for that just don't matter. Like, they're not going to do anything for me in the future. They don't matter for my job, and like they're not unproductive. It's not like I'm just chilling out watching TV, which could be productive if you're trying to relax, I guess. But like, there's like the amount of projects I've worked on that have gotten totally scrapped, and you could argue like, oh well, I'm building experience or whatever. But um, the amount of projects that I've committed to that I know are garbage, but I'm still spending time on them, or I know that they're not going to work out in the future. Like that's an obvious example of being productive, but not towards something meaningful, or not towards like the true things. Like there's an author, Tim Ferriss, who wrote the 4 Hour Work Week, which is like kind of like
Oh yeah,
it
I've
had some
always
interesting
wanted
stuff in it.
to read that book.
Yeah, I would recommend it. It's worth a read. But he kind of talks about something like that that I saw recently, and so it's um, the only thing I think of which is not that out of the box, because they need to be out of the box solutions, is keep a dream journal. And if you keep
James.
a dream journal,
Yeah, I know it sounds like BS, but I think
no,
keeping
no, no,
track
no.
of your
No,
progress
he's
is fine.
No, yeah, but yes, like not that out of the box, but keep like this is my first get. This is my first go. This is version 1 of my solution. Like realistically look at the things that you do that aren't productive and see if you can cut them out. Um,
yeah.
like, and if you get enjoyment from one of those things, that might be enough. That might be worth it then, But the things like that kind of like when you look at them, you realize they are just time wasters.
Mhm.
That's the only thing I can think of right now. But anybody else have any
I
ideas?
mean, that's fair. Like, I don't have the details of his life, so I can't be like. I guess we can't
So
go
we should
on
just
like a
make things
list,
up.
huh?
This
No, we
is
should just make things up. We should be, you know what? He's researching marine biology, and he's loves to bake brownies, and I don't know what else.
so this is not necessarily an out of the box solution, but I've listened to a podcast, not a podcast, an audiobook recently called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And it's the act of just building a habit. And one of the things that I think, like, James mentioned, it's like, oh, I'm making all these projects and they're going nowhere. Is that you might have to change your mindset in terms of what you would deem as why you're doing something. So instead of striving for a goal, you just strive for improvement. And the idea of just improving step by step, even if it's the most minute thing, is better than just having an overall goal. Like, let's say, like losing weight, right? Let's say, oh, I gotta lose 70 pounds by the end of this year, which is, it's a lot of
Oh
weight
my god.
and it's incredible. But if you just kind of do that and you keep going on for like 2 months, it's gonna be hard to push yourself through, especially when you can't see results as fast. It might be better to say, hey, I'm just going to try to drink more water, or maybe I'm just going to drink more water than I did yesterday, and you keep doing that, and then you've already made more progress as opposed to looking at something big. So maybe changing the system instead of changing the act of looking towards that very very far distant thing would be better. Um, and of course, a lot of this is also from this book, so this is definitely not an out of the box solution. But I think just changing your mindset in the beginning would be the first thing, and then there's like a bunch more. But I would love to hear more about like other people's solutions before rattling on about a book.
I think that is pretty out of the box, though. No, just like
It is. I am citing it though. This is like the method. Like I think I could give like a real example here.
It's just in
Um,
a different box. It's
yeah.
not like out of the box. It's in the Atomic Habits book
It's
box.
yeah. It's from Amazon. That's where I got it. Um, but a real life example is, like I actually have been wanting to learn French for a long time. Like I learned it in high school, and it pissed me off because like I've been learning it for even like in middle school. But I've always had such really like bad. I don't want to blame the teachers. It's like a combination of other things, but I didn't really have a good learning experience. So I wanted to kind of make up for that and actually learn French this time. So I told myself, all right, so Duolingo is free, and I'm gonna use Duolingo. It was really hard to do like anything at first because it's just like, oh, it's like how can I need to at least do it 15 minutes a day, but even 15 minutes was pretty hard. But I told myself gradually, hey, look, I'll just do like I don't know, a minute of French. And then after a while, I'm just like, I can't believe I'm only doing a minute. I'll do 2 minutes. And I kept stacking until now I think I do roughly like 30 minutes to an hour a day of French. And I've only broken the streak a couple of times. And I think also people, once they fall off the horse, they're just like, oh shit, I guess I can't do it. The idea is like, all right, you stop for a bit, even if it's like a couple of days. You just have to say to yourself, hey, even if I do one more minute or start back from the beginning, it's all right. I could just kind of keep pushing on. You're always gonna have highs and lows, but so long as you're consistent, I think that's really the most important thing. And on the days where you feel like especially subpar, I guess now we're going to the gym, and you decided, oh, I'm gonna try to max out today. I'm gonna have a PR, and you can't do it that day, and you realize, wow, I'm feeling really weak and sluggish. Those are the days that you should really work out the most, even if it feels like you're just riding the moment, because during those times it's important to be more consistent, because now you know how you do poorly, like how you function on a poor day, so later on you could see how you could function on like a mid to subpar day, and then that'll eventually like help you in the long run. I don't know if this makes sense at any point. Just being consistent is what's important, no matter what you do.
No, that sounds awesome. The especially that thing you said at the end where it's like to make sure you work as hard as you possibly can on the bad days. I don't know if I've heard that before, but that sounds awesome.
That actually really changed my life, because
That little like kick in the ass, like it's like, 'cause, well, I'm terrible. I all the time I'll be like, oh, I was gonna work out today, but I'm just like, you know, I got a headache. You know what I mean?
Do
Yeah.
So that's actually really motivational. Oh my god, Chloe, you should be a motivational speaker.
I don't want that job. It feels like I'm selling snake oil, right? Like every time I like go and say this shit, but or I don't. What, are we not allowed to curse? What kind of stream are we going for?
Fucking cursing. No, yeah, it's cool.
It's that it's like everyone's like, oh, you're so experienced, or oh, you're talented, or you can do this and this, and you're naturally good at something, but it's mainly grit. It's like, funnily enough, this is what one of our professors told me when going into grad school. It's like those that don't survive really aren't the smartest. It's just those with like enough grit that can kind of make it through. And after going through, well, I'm still in grad school, but after going kind of through the motions, he is like 100% correct on that. You just have to be the most, not like necessarily stubborn, but stable-headed, able to just like, even if it's a really shitty day, you're able to work through it. It's all good. And being able to work through like potentially like awfully boring moments. Like you could imagine how many times like an Olympic athlete would do the same thing, run the same like lap. Even though it's boring, they just have to be so consistent at it to the point where it just becomes natural to them. So, I think to this person, they already are pretty. It sounds like they're already pretty good at what they do. It's just that they're kind of getting bored, and like they're not improving so much now. And I think to them, they might need to restart and like try to see why they do these things. It's like, oh hey,
leave
why
grad school, restart, come back.
Yeah. No.
Do you mean like reevaluate why he's doing certain things? Like in
Yeah.
the specific example of like baking, I guess. Like how would you?
Yeah. So he does bake. He bakes for like. Does he enjoy it? Does he do it as a hobby, or is it?
Yeah, he likes doing it, and he's like good at it. Like he makes like croissants.
Yeah.
But what
that sounds
if he
delicious.
stopped baking? He wouldn't need to work out so much
Huh?
because he'd be eating better, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But maybe he bakes it for other people.
Twofold.
Who knows?
It's true.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like one of those amazing people that like bakes food and then like gives it to a homeless shelter or like a soup kitchen, or something.
That's pretty swell if he does that. But yeah. Let's say it's
Assume he
something that
does.
really
I
brought
like
him
assuming
joy.
about this guy.
Hmm?
Sorry, I said let's assume he does. Let's assume I like assuming things about this person.
Yeah.
Okay.
This
But what
marine
do you say, Chloe?
biologist. This really
Yeah.
buff marine biologist that bakes too.
Yeah.
But let's say this person does like to bake all the time, and this person, is starting to not really find joy in baking. Maybe at that point, like if this person is doing it for only that purpose, maybe it's okay to stop. That's also something that a lot of people don't realize. It's like at any point in time, you could just stop doing what you're doing and say that's okay. That took me a long time to realize too. Going into, majors that I didn't necessarily want to go into. You can just stop anytime you want. So if that person really doesn't think baking works for them, maybe it's interfering with their diet, despite them being really healthy and working out, that, as James mentioned, baking could be a real detriment. So, maybe it's time to quit, and that's okay too. You'll find your
Yeah.
that makes you more open to find something
Quit baking. Baking is bad.
new.
Um,
No, only quit
no,
baking
but
if you don't like it.
yeah, exactly. But no, that actually is a really good point, Chloe, because I've met. So what you said about like being a major or something like that in college, where
Hmm.
you're not, you kind of like know it's not you, but you're already invested in it almost, or something like
Yeah.
that. Like the sunk cost fallacy,
Hmm.
where you don't want to sell a stock because if you sold it now, you would lose money, so you're waiting for it to come back up. But like it might never come back up. It makes sense to cut your most cases. It makes sense to cut your losses at a certain point,
Mm.
um, and just
Yeah.
accept them instead of waiting for them to get worse. And so uh, I've noticed from my I've taken a few grad school classes, but not I haven't actually enrolled in a program. And a lot of people I met are like, oh well, yeah, I'm just doing this, and like you ask them how much money they're spending to go into a grad school, and
It's like
and
so much.
sometimes yeah, and sometimes it's just because like they either didn't major in the thing they actually wanted to as an undergrad, so now they're trying to like retroactively fix it, or which is not necessarily a bad thing. Like that could actually be a good thing. Maybe they didn't realize, whatever. But the thing that's really annoying is like when they just kind of don't know what they want to do,
Hmm.
and they think not. And this again isn't always wrong, but making that long term commitment of and I've seen it happen in undergrad too. I guess I should clarify, where people are like, yeah, I'm gonna go major in this thing. I'm gonna spend a lot of money. I'm gonna take out the loans, but like they don't really have a direction,
Hmm.
and so like they didn't really make like a great long term decision. But in the short term, it seemed like a great idea.
Is this
You
about
know,
me, James?
no, no, this is not about you, Alan. You
Is
have
this
a direction.
targeted?
You have a direction. I mean, like I generally see it in people with majors that don't have as good career tracks. Like
Hmm.
not like that they're bad majors or anything like that. Just that they're generally harder, more competitive, or harder to find a good career or job in. And so I'm not explaining this as well as I like used to because I haven't talked about it in a while. But like yeah, they like some people make poor long term decisions because it feels right in the moment, or it's an easy short term decision. Like oh, I'm just gonna go to class. You know what I mean? I just have to worry about being a student now, and being a student to an extent is enjoyable for a lot of people. You get to make your own schedule. Like you get to meet new people. It's like not a harsh lifestyle, I guess. In a lot of cases,
That
but
night. Oh yeah. That's
yeah. So that's basically what I was gonna say. Is like I don't know. This probably doesn't apply to this guy in a PhD program. Like it sounds like he'll actually. I don't know, how close is he to finishing roughly? Like is he like halfway through or
So he just started because like
okay?
he's like same year as me.
Yeah. So that actually is something else I've noticed quickly. I don't want to take up too much time of talking, but the like the in between master's degree and PhD is like probably one of the hardest. Like around that time is probably one of the harder times as a PhD student because like you have a very marketable degree as either a bachelor's or a master's degree in like a science field in a STEM field, and so it's like you're really questioning should I commit to spending this much time and not getting paid a lot of money to be a PhD student
Mm-hmm.
for the payoff later.
that
And
decision single-handedly made me decide I should go to therapy. I am deadly
really,
Oh
serious.
my.
Yeah, that was enough. That
wow,
was enough. It was like my first semester in, so not too long ago, and I was like, this is really right for me, and even the idea of pushing forward because my specific major usually would need a PhD. There's like no in or out. Or at least a specific like track I'm in within my major would require that. And I was like, you know what? Like after talking about it with my therapist and really like spending time to think about it, I realized why am I still here? If I really don't like it as much as I should have. It's because I guess I identified with it so much it became part of me, and realizing that I'm kind of like a fraud in a sense that's enough for me to like lose it and like really not accept that. So just now to anyone I guess that's listening to really drive in the point. If you don't like it, it doesn't have to be you, and it doesn't define how you work as a person or how you are, in a sense. So I think that person. I don't know if this person's having that kind of. Your friend's having this kind of problem. unless they're thinking about quitting marine biology. But in terms of what we were discussing before, yeah, this is how I feel about it.
Yeah. So you should just quit. I think that's our out of the box solution. You should definitely quit. Drop out of grad school.
Even if it is your dream, just quit just to see.
Yeah, exactly.
Why? If I was gonna lose, why did I even try? No, this is not the not what we're trying to, I guess, advertise or anything. But
No, that is absolutely that's actually really interesting because that's like the other side of the coin. So I feel I don't know if this is true, but I'm going to try and mold it to be true. Where like I was saying, a lot of people make these bad long-term decisions like, "Oh, I'm just going to be a student. It's an easy decision." And then other people uh can be like that are kind of like the other extreme, or like they identify so strongly with whatever field that they're in that they're like, I need to get a PhD in this. Like I've been telling people since I was 10 that I was going to be a marine biologist. You know what I mean? I wanted to work at Animal World or Sea World or whatever. And, Animal World.
Animal World. That's just like a really extra zoo, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And so whatever, and so like because I totally get that, like, and that makes sense with Chloe, with what I know about you going to grad school and like the field you were in, like you obviously you really liked it and stuff, but then kind of, I guess, based on what you said, after seeing it and experiencing it, you were honest with yourself. You were like, going the PhD route, like going to all that school is, just not something that you ultimately want to do, but you wouldn't have known that probably until you got there.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like sometimes it's I guess the one main thing from at least this this part is like don't let shallow decisions like ruin you in the long term. I think because it's like when you're a kid, as James said before, I'm gonna be an electrical engineer, and then it's going to define you for the rest of your life. Like it's okay to change that. Like this person who I expected to be some sort of like Mensa level mathematician is a journalist now, and I'm happy for him. I just didn't expect it, knowing how good he was in literally everything back in middle school to high school. But I'm glad he's where he's at, and he's happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I think we were talking about habits, but it became a life lesson.
That's the whole idea.
Fine.
We just roll with it until we literally stumble and fall into a possible solution that we would, by our standards, consider out of the box. But okay,
I
wait.
do want to go back though to what.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So just to like this is once again from the book, and if you don't have the book, you can always kind of go online and search up Atomic Habits resources, and you will find like all the like little things that James Clear has mentioned in his book. Honestly, reading the book or listening to the book in my case would be better. But let's say your marine biologist friend is actually working to replace baking or to make working out an even stronger habit. So you would have to.
I thought you meant working, like his research was finding a way to replace bacon.
Oh yeah, that's not his
alternative
research.
bacon.
Yeah, that's a very
Sorry.
common problem
was-
in marine biology.
Yeah.
Baking's killing the sharks and the whales.
Yeah, I don't-
But wait,
I
so
don't know-
Chloe, you're saying
yeah.
working to replace like that habit, or that like if you wanted to get rid of it?
Yeah, to do both in terms of how to create a
Oh.
good habit and how to make to break a bad habit. And a habit could be defined as anything that you do normally. Like let's say it's you just eating a cookie at midnight or you smoking. Like it could range from anything. And a good habit could be learning French or like getting in a couple of steps for your day, just whatever you need to do. So maybe we could look at at the
Yeah, sure, of course.
how to create a good habit, make it obvious. The first law is to make it obvious. The second law is to make it attractive. The third law is to make it easy for yourself, and the fourth law is to make it satisfying.
Make it attractive.
Yeah. So when you going through it, when you want to make it obvious, you basically just like let's put within the scheme of an example. Let's just say it's wanting to take a jog every day, right? Making it obvious would be as soon as you wake up in the morning or get back home from work, you would put your running shoes immediately in front of you, or it's always in your car, or let's say your Fitbit is always on you, so it always keeps track. So that's one way to make it obvious. make it attractive. So this is a way it's like a reward system. You can't just like do it and expect that you do it all the time. You just have to make it like something like I guess pleasurable in a way. So using temptation bundling is what James Clear says in his book. So this would be like, oh, as soon as I finish running, I'll reward myself with an episode of The Witcher tonight, right? And you would do that like for a long time. And then the third part is to make it easy. You can't run a 5K with no experience at all, or a marathon, unless you're our other professor, of course, that like lost weight in a year and just ran marathons for the rest of his life. I don't know how he did that.
Yeah.
But making it easy would like reducing friction in a sense to like you not enjoying it, you enjoying it. So in the beginning, let's say you're going to be, let's just run a lap around around the block, and then it'll slowly build into let's run all the way to the park, to let's run 5K. And then after a while, the fourth law is I feel like it's kind of the hardest thing. It's making it satisfying. You have to like, once again, this is another form of rewarding yourself, like when you complete the habit. And then you like additionally making it satisfying would involve yourself to be happy with your progress. And I feel like over time people usually are, but people get dissuaded pretty easily if it's an especially new habit. So usually it takes within 3 months for you to like don't like, and I don't know, this is not probably a cited source, but at least for me personally, when building habits, learning French and all that stuff, I realized after 3 months it's just like nothing for me. But 3 months is a lot of time for people, so that could be a problem. So yeah, that's basic the very core basics on how to build a good habit. To those that have a psychology major, it usually is this like reward response thing. So it goes from cue, craving, response, reward. That's like what this ideology is kind of based off of. And if you want to make it a habit, like if you want to break a bad habit, you would kind of invert that. So if you would invert the first law, you'd make it invisible, make it unseen. If you want to cut sugar, you have to get rid of all of the Kit Kats in your house. Make it unattractive is the second law, like the inversion of the second law. So maybe show like maybe watch all those documentaries that talk about like cholesterol clogging your system. Just something that'll repulse you about sugar. The third law is making it difficult. Make it very difficult for you to binge on any sweets. And the fourth law is to make it very unsatisfying, which also makes sense. You have to always, take accountability. Maybe you could ask someone to, like, smack Snickers out of your hand every time they see you. Anything like that.
Not what I thought you were going to say, but okay.
Yeah, I
Smack
just,
me every time I take a bite of this.
just slap me in the face. I don't know, make me pay you. Just something
Make
like
me
that.
pay you. I guess that's the point of the, like, swear jars or whatever some people have in their houses.
Yeah, like people do that and people start that and people are really good at starting that, but it's usually carrying on in the consistency. And what do I do when it's done? That's the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I don't know how. I'm still very much in the middle of my journey to learn French.
I thought you were going to say I'm still very much in the middle of the book.
Imagine if I just like said all these things and finished the book.
Yeah.
At the end
No,
of
I
the book,
definitely heard of that book before, and I definitely should check it out.
Yeah, I got it because one day we'll get famous enough for an Audible sponsor, right? Like,
Ooh, maybe we're famous enough. Maybe we could just. All right, if everybody listening you're allowed to make 2 Google accounts a day, and so if you each make 2 more Google accounts,
no, don't do
that.
we're
that.
never gonna get a sponsor now.
But Alan, what were you gonna say?
I don't remember.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, wait. So this is all great if you ask me. So I feel like let's cover. There's one more piece of the puzzle to me, like that I could think of that is to cover. So we basically covered like, okay, if he has habits, good habits that he wants to keep or make, and good and bad habits he wants to break or continue to not have. So, I don't want to have any of the bad habits, right? But what if like he really does like, and we talked about if he doesn't like, whatever field he's in, like he has to be honest with himself and all that stuff. But what if, like, he legit does like his field? It's just that the actual weight of everything, like just the amount of work he has to do as a PhD student, all the research, all that stuff, is a lot. Which assumably, whatever it is, and like just so and let's assume it's just those two things. It's just his PhD, and it's just living a healthy lifestyle.
Right.
That includes like going
Okay.
to bed early, working out, eating healthy, like all the things that like generally come with a pretty disciplined person and a healthy lifestyle, and just the research. And like let's try and make this as hard as possible to solve, basically, right? So let's assume he already cut back on his social life. Like like it's still like reasonable. Obviously, everybody's cut back on the social life at the moment. Quarantine.
Yeah.
Um,
Wear a mask,
so
stay inside, 6 feet apart, everyone.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so let's assume he cut back on his social life. Let's assume he cut back on anything that wasn't that productive. It's really just the weight of this, PhD.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. Um,
So like he knows it's his dream for sure, and it
yeah,
just comes with
as
a lot of
reasonably sure as he could
like
be.
it's not something he can drop because like
Mhm.
that's his goal. That's what he wants to do. But it comes with a lot of like responsibilities that even after dropping everything else, it's still going to put like attacks on
Yes.
his how healthy he's living.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a pretty big problem, and I think that's really where you have to kind of sit down and this is, funnily enough, this is also something he talks about in his book, but this is on more shallow habits, but I think you could
We should
apply
get
it to
James
anything
Clear on
big.
the
James Clear
on the
is doing
podcast.
pretty well for himself, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. James Clear, if you're listening, I know you are. Uh, you know, send me a DM on Twitter. Anyway.
But yeah, so he really has to kind of like, I think the best way is to like, instead of like sitting down really thinking about it, you should actually literally visualize it by taking this won't solve everything, but it's a good start to it. Like just taking a piece of paper, splitting it down the middle, look at the pros and cons of like what you're doing right now. So PhD, it's my dream. That's a pro. It's taking too much time. That's a con. Or maybe one of the things is I hate my advisor for whatever reason, or I just dislike the project I'm in, or I enjoy my lab. That would be a pro. Like you would do all of that, and then you would, after like organizing them, you should at this point, like in each column, weigh out like the most important ones towards the top and the most least important ones at the bottom, right? And you have to kind of like I guess send them to like 1v1 each other and like see, is this worth it? And you really have to weigh out the odds. Am I willing to sacrifice this much of my time with that? And if the answer is inevitably no, then that sends you into a whole, hey, what can I do? I really like this, but the work is just so intense. Or if it's a yes, then you just kind of deal with it and move on, unfortunately. I mean, of
Well, I
course,
guess.
there is, yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, you say yes, it is worth it. Was that the second part you said?
The second part, yeah, is like if it is worth it, then like
Yeah.
I would say normally to like deal with it and move on, but it's
And I guess
of course more
yeah, but
complicated than that.
you'd have
Yeah.
to cut out I guess the cost would be cutting out like the fitness
Yeah.
lifestyle,
You have to realize
kind of
maybe,
thing.
yeah, maybe going to the gym isn't as worth as doing that. Because I personally like the
Hopefully in
idea
the
of
short
having
term.
like a very varied life. I just can't focus on one thing and be happy with it. I like to just do many things at once.
Hmm.
And that's okay, like per person. It sounds like this person is like like I guess a renaissance man or woman, in a sense. Like this person's doing a great deal of things and they tend to enjoy all aspects of life, which is always good to hear, honestly. But like maybe there's something that he can fix, like even if it's the smallest things, like let's say it's just um, like moving to a new area is kind of a big thing, but let's say it's maybe changing the advisor that he's in, or getting out of a specific project, or deloading himself, if it's possible for this person to deload themselves.
Hmm.
Like these are really intricate things that
Yeah, we don't know
is specific. Yeah,
enough.
that's
I don't
specific to
think
a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least
that
at
is a good
least
point, though.
like it. This also kind of goes into the idea of like improving every aspect of your life. Like this, you're like micromanaging every point. Once again, going back into Atomic Habits, one of the first things he mentions is that there was like a team, like a cycling team, like in the UK. They were like really crap, and then they were able to overall just improve because they would slightly improve 1% of everything, like
I know
very
exactly.
slowly.
Yeah, I've heard this story. It's pretty awesome.
It is, yeah. Like the fact that it was just enough. So to kind of improve it. I'm not doing it justice because it's I just really
Yeah.
can't remember what
No,
it was.
I just remember one of the details, like even little things, like they would travel all with their travel gear. They would keep like the same. They would keep like I don't know what, like some type of foam mattress cover thing
Yeah.
that they would put on top of the mattress. So no matter where they were sleeping, they were able to consistently get like the best night's sleep they possibly could, and it would be consistent. And like little things like that, and like they would always, I don't know. That's the only thing I remember. But I definitely heard that story as well.
Yeah, and I don't know if you want to put this in, but this is, I think the best way to kind of go into it is 1% better every day. I know this is more of like a, hey, this is like one habit that you do daily and just kind of improve. But this could kind of work for your work environment as well. So, like, if you improve 1% of whatever you're doing every single day, maybe it's as small as literally just moving your table to face the window because you need to see that sunlight. Um, Over time, you will improve. Like, very, very slowly. It'll be incrementally. As opposed to, like, you, like, not doing anything, you'll eventually start declining. And I could send you the actual worksheet if I could find it. And I'm sure if you want,
Yeah,
you
if
could
you
actually
find it, we
put,
can try and
yeah,
look.
you could actually put in the details after we talk about it. It's like, oh, this is what this
Yeah,
person
I'll
is.
just do a
Yeah.
whole.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Movie magic. Uh,
Movement.
look at this,
um,
a graph.
it-
But in terms of him, like let's say something specific, like yeah, going back into research. Let's say you just want to remove yourself from that project, even though it means that your standing might be a little lower or your PI might not appreciate you as much. If it's for your mental health and if it's going to help you push that one project you're really working on, I say do it. Because it's better to focus on one thing instead of multitasking and doing like a subpar on everything else. Um, and maybe
yeah,
just,
I actually.
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I definitely agree. That was like another thing I was thinking. Like, so say instead of cutting out of the fitness, if you really are committed to that, and I know a lot of people that even we went to school with that were like I know they weren't like necessarily the best students, but they were very committed to staying in shape or something else
Yeah.
like that. And which is something like I'm like the opposite. Like I was very committed to being as good a student as I felt I needed to be. I'm not gonna say the best student, uh, but because Allan might have been the best student,
Not
but
better.
um, but yeah, like if like it, I would use school as an excuse not to go to the gym. Like I think it was almost like the opposite. But but yeah, like I so taking intentionally basically going a little bit slower in grad school. So you're not giving
Yeah.
up or not deciding not to go.
You're
You're just
going at an acceptable pace for you.
yeah, you exactly
Yeah.
slowing down just enough on that one project that you would consider like your main project or your day job or whatever. Um, and I know some people do that with like engineering degrees in undergrad. Like some people take 5 years to do it. Some people do it with nursing degrees as well.
Hmm.
Um, they just take 5 years. They're like, I'm not going to overload any of my years. I'm going to like make sure I could go through it and get good grades the whole time. Uh,
Yeah, this
so
is a
they're
really
paying
good
for an
thing to
extra
do.
year of tuition. Yeah, but like in the end, maybe they'll get a better job because of it, because they're actually able to get better grades and actually learn the stuff better, than trying to cram it all in 4 years,
Hmm.
which is like, it's kind of a person by person basis.
Hmm.
So that's
And
like, but that's obviously tricky to do in grad school. Like what Chloe was saying, it really depends on your advisor, your project, so
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's a lot depending on the person. So to your friend who may or may not be listening to this, I wish them the best. Um, but also going back, inevitably what's important isn't really what, like, this feels cheesy, but it's not important as to what other people actually think of your progress, or you think, hey, if I do this, they'll appreciate me for it. It's more like, no, you're doing this to improve yourself. You can't like compare yourself to other people constantly, even if they're in the same major as you, even if they like are your friend. It's like inevitably your own progress that you have to care about. You can't afford to compare yourself constantly to everyone, because you'll just lose focus and kind of like stop. And I've definitely done a lot of that, and I'm trying my best to not do that anymore. And it's really hard to, when your entire life has just been, oh, that person's doing better than you, oh, you're doing better than them. That's something hard to kind of get out of. So maybe one day we'll talk more about that and discuss imposter syndrome, which is
yeah,
a favorite topic of mine, especially to all of us that are in STEM. Of course, this
Yeah,
isn't just
Chloe
me and
is
Sam to everyone else, of course.
Chloe is secretly a cat in a human suit,
Yeah,
and that's why she
I'm
feels like an imposter.
actually like 3 to 4 cats stacked
Oh
in a human
wow,
shirt in this human suit. Yeah, it's
damn,
great.
Yeah,
that's complicated.
Chloe's
It's
face
a lot of
reveal
effort.
at 10K subs.
Yeah.
It's just a different cat picture.
Yeah, it's
This is
gonna
the
be a
actual
different
cat.
cat photo.
Okay, wait. All right. So we've been recording now. I think it's been like 40, a little over 40 minutes, almost 45.
Yeah.
And so since Alan was probably the least talkative during this one, which is a problem, Alan.
I know.
Okay, we need you. The world needs to hear your voice more. Um,
I apologize. I really like this subject.
No, it's
Actually.
no, no, that's great.
You have
That's
been a
that's
very
that
wonderful guest on this podcast. You've
guest
offered
and
very
maybe
amazing advice.
co-host.
Yeah,
Um,
close.
Thank you again.
uh,
Thank you for
yeah,
having me.
we're accepting applications for co-hosts. Um, so, Alan, why don't you, if you could, just almost give like a closing statement of what you think is the actual like kind of takeaway, the out of the box solution that we have arrived at.
So I guess it sounds like what we are saying he needs to do is to look really carefully at all the things he's doing right now and just like either reevaluate whether or not they're things he wants to continue doing, like whether or not like hobbies or like certain activities he's doing or like actually matter to him, and if he should continue to do them, and then that would leave him with more time to do the things that are more important, or to maybe even incorporate more things that he wants to do that he's not already doing. And then yeah, so like reevaluate his priorities, I guess.
And then use the Atomic Habits kind of like cheat sheet
Which will be linked
to like help
in the
with that.
description below.
Yes, use
Yeah,
that as
definitely.
guidance.
Yeah, like I know people, especially during COVID. Am I allowed to be saying COVID-19 this many times?
Yeah.
I know that's a thing for you too. Yeah, so not everyone has money. So of course, like having an Audible may not be something for them. So I'll definitely send the the PDFs of what I was looking at. They're actually all free. Like James Clear offers them for free. That are
Oh, that's awesome.
just online, and they like it's free to use whenever. And he also has an email newsletter. So he always gives advice on Thursdays. Funnily enough, I received one today, and he always gives little inspirational stuff. He does like a 3-2-1 thing, and he's overall a pretty great author. And he's
Yeah,
still
that's pretty
constantly
cool.
giving advice. Yeah, so those things are free if you can't afford the book right now. But if you are going to
Awesome.
read a book sometime this month or next month, I highly recommend this one.
All right,
Not sponsored.
not sponsored.
Not
But
sponsored.
maybe in the
This
future?
book changed my life. Yeah. And therapy.
Yeah, actually, this quick side note though, I actually have tried therapy before as well. Like when I was working my first job out of college, it was just, I mean, I know I've talked to you guys about it before. It was not like a great job, and so I ended up going to therapy, not necessarily because of the job, but that definitely was like what pushed me over the edge to even just give it a try.
Right.
And it felt weird at first, but I think that it's absolutely something everybody can benefit from if if your health insurance covers it, it's like pretty inexpensive.
Or if you're
Um,
still at a university and your university offers therapy for free along with your tuition, please take it. Even if
Yeah.
even if you feel like, if you don't need it, you don't have to take it. Therapy really only works if you believe in it. And I think we should definitely like save this for another episode if I'm there.
yeah,
Yeah.
like a mental
Love
health
to
thing or
talk about
something.
it. Yeah.
But if you
All
have
right,
the
Chloe-
opportunity
oh,
to
sorry.
do it, everyone
Yes.
should do it at least once.
At least once.
Have you done it, Alan?
Yes.
Oh,
Perfect.
shit.
Yeah.
wow, the therapy crew.
Therapy.
Um,
Class.
This is new
Damaged.
podcast coming at you. Did you say damage?
Yeah.
I want to get that tattooed on my forehead.
Damage squad.
Oh,
So
God.
Chloe, why don't you do the outro that we always do and everybody knows so well and
Oh,
is
no.
our thing?
I'm not gonna lie, I was scrubbing through that video in the IKEA line, and then I got to like kind of the midway, and then they were like, "All right, you guys can go in," and then I rushed my ass, like Roman Holiday
think
from by.
IKEA- So IKEA is more important. No, it's cool. We don't do an outro. I was
Okay.
kidding. Yeah.
We can make one up now.
All right,
Nah.
make up that outro that everybody loves and we do all the
Yeah.
time.
Thanks so much, guys, for watching. I don't know when we regularly update, but here's when we
Neither do we.
Yeah, we're just doing this for fun. I guess hit the bell, click like, and subscribe. I'll see you next week. That's like a typical YouTuber like outro, right? Watch me on YouTube, too.
You nailed it. That was better than I could have done it for sure.
Yeah, we'll use that.
It
we'll
is
use that.
very hard to keep a straight face and do that.
Like
Yeah.
and subscribe, please.
No, seriously. Take this advice for free, and with a grain of grain of salt.
Grain of salt.
A grain of
sword.
swords.
Swords, yeah. But yeah, hopefully we'll do this again soon. And it's been fun.
Well, yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Cheers.